Most people don't plan to sabotage their own lives. They don't wake up and think, "Today, I'll destroy everything I've built." But destruction rarely happens in one dramatic moment of weakness. Instead, it unfolds through a series of tiny, almost imperceptible steps, small choices that accumulate over time, each one feeling insignificant, until the weight of all those moments becomes undeniable. Married women are often seen as the pillars of stability, devoted to their families and committed to their vows. They carry the weight of expectations, embodying the roles of mother, wife, and nurturer. Society often assumes that once a woman is married, her emotional and romantic life becomes settled, secure, and immune to external temptations. But beneath the surface, many women experience an internal battle, a delicate dance between loyalty and the lure of something new. Why does this happen? It's not a matter of weak morals or a lack of integrity. It's not that these women don't love their husbands or cherish their families. Instead, it often comes down to deeper human needs that, when left unfulfilled, can create cracks in even the strongest relationships. At its core, this struggle is about the desire for emotional connection, the need to feel understood, valued, and deeply seen, the craving for novelty and excitement, the thrill of feeling attractive, desired, and alive, a lost sense of self, the realization that she no longer recognizes the woman she used to be, emotional or physical neglect, a slow erosion of intimacy, affection, and appreciation, unresolved personal or relationship issues, patterns of emotional withdrawal, past trauma, or self-doubt that remain unaddressed. For many women, crossing the line isn't a reckless decision. It's an emotional response to an unmet need. But how does it happen? And why do some women, despite loving their husbands, find themselves entangled in something they never thought possible? Let's break it down. 1. The slow fade. From passion to indifference. Great marriages aren't built on love alone, they thrive on emotional connection. But over time, something dangerous can happen. Not an explosion, but a slow fade. In the beginning, everything feels electric. Long conversations, excitement, the thrill of being truly seen. But then life takes over. Conversations shift from dreams and desires to grocery lists and schedules. Passion gets replaced by routine. And one day she realizes something devastating. She feels invisible. Dr. John Gottman, a leading relationship psychologist, warns that the true killer of marriages isn't conflict, it's indifference. When a woman stops feeling noticed, her subconscious starts looking elsewhere for validation. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but instinctively. A simple compliment from a stranger, a meaningful conversation, a moment where she feels interesting again. That spark, however small, can feel like a breath of fresh air after years of suffocation. And once she feels it, she'll crave more. The case of Lisa, a devoted wife and mother of two, never thought she'd find herself emotionally drawn to another man. But after years of feeling like her husband only saw her as a caregiver, she found herself eagerly awaiting messages from a coworker who actually listened. It started as casual conversation, until she realized she was sharing things with him that she hadn't shared with her husband in years. The human desire for both security and adventure. Renowned psychotherapist Esther Perel highlights this internal struggle in her TED Talk. She explains that people in long-term relationships often battle between two human needs, security and adventure. Marriage provides stability, but the yearning for novelty can push some towards seeking emotional or physical connections elsewhere. The slow fade doesn't happen overnight. It's a series of small moments, ignored emotions, missed conversations, unmet desires, and before she even realizes it, the emotional distance between her and her husband has widened. 2. The justification trap. How the mind excuses betrayal. No one believes they're the villain in their own story. The mind is a master at bending reality to justify what feels good. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the internal battle that happens when our actions contradict our morals. And when the guilt becomes too much, the brain finds a way to excuse it. It starts small. It's just harmless attention. We're only talking. It's not like I'm cheating. If my husband paid more attention to me, I wouldn't even need this. At first, it's all emotional. sharing thoughts, feeling heard, venting frustrations. But emotional intimacy is powerful, stronger than physical attraction. And once she invests emotionally, physical boundaries start to blur. The case of Sarah told herself she was just having fun. When she reconnected with an old college friend online, the late-night chats felt innocent until she realized she was hiding them. When she told herself, "I'd never actually meet up with him," it was just another way to avoid facing the reality of what was happening. 3. The point of no return. Every story has a moment where there's no turning back. A first message, a first lingering touch, a first meeting that shouldn't happen. And here's the catch. The hardest part isn't crossing the line. It's doing it for the first time. Once that barrier is broken, everything shifts. The brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that fuels addiction. The rush of secrecy, the excitement of passion. It's intoxicating, and suddenly the idea of stopping feels impossible. Then the lies begin. At first, they feel wrong, but over time, deception becomes second nature. The guilt fades, rationalizations grow stronger, and one day, she looks at her husband and realizes, he's the other man now. The real emotional connection, the real passion, it's happening elsewhere. 4. The emotional v physical divide. Why emotional affairs are just as dangerous. When most people think of infidelity, they imagine physical betrayal, stolen kisses, secret rendezvous, and nights spent in someone else's arms. But not all affairs are physical. In fact, some of the most devastating betrayals never involve sex at all. What is an emotional affair? An emotional affair occurs when a deep, intimate connection is formed with someone outside the marriage, one that slowly replaces the emotional bond with a spouse. Unlike a purely physical affair, which might be based on fleeting passion or lust, emotional affairs are built on trust, vulnerability, and shared secrets. At first, it may seem innocent. A woman might confide in a coworker, a friend, or even an online acquaintance. She shares personal thoughts, frustrations, and emotions that she no longer expresses to her husband. Over time, this emotional bond strengthens, often without her even realizing how far it's gone. What makes emotional affairs so dangerous is that they can feel even more real than a physical affair. The connection is based on emotional intimacy, which is the foundation of deep love. Many women caught in emotional affairs convince themselves that they've found their soulmate, someone who understands them in ways their husband no longer does. The signs of an emotional affair. Increasing secrecy, hiding texts, deleting messages, or becoming defensive when asked about interactions with a specific person. Emotional withdrawal from the marriage, feeling more excited to talk to the other person than to their spouse. Comparing the spouse to the new connection. Mentally or verbally noting all the ways their husband falls short. Seeking emotional validation outside the marriage. Feeling that only this person gets them. Justifying the connection. Telling themselves, we're just friends, while knowing deep down that it's more than that. Why emotional affairs are harder to end. Unlike physical affairs, which often rely on secrecy and thrill, emotional affairs feel like true love to those involved. The deep conversations, the sense of being seen and understood, the excitement of every text or message. It's intoxicating. Because there's no physical betrayal, at least at first, it's easier to rationalize, I haven't actually done anything wrong. We're just friends. If my husband were more attentive, I wouldn't need this. But as emotional intimacy grows, the distance in the marriage widens. The husband, often unaware of what's happening, senses something is off, but doesn't know why. Meanwhile, the wife begins to detach, investing more of her emotions in someone else. Many women in emotional affairs eventually cross into physical betrayal, but even if they don't, the damage is already done. Their real emotional connection now belongs to someone else. Breaking free from an emotional affair ending. An emotional affair is often more painful than stopping a physical one. Because the relationship is built on feelings rather than just attraction, it feels like losing a part of oneself. However, to salvage a marriage, the emotional affair must end. Cut contact completely. No closure conversations, no lingering friendships. Rebuild intimacy with the spouse. Open up emotionally, have deep conversations, and create space for connection. Seek counseling if needed. A therapist can help unpack why the emotional distance happened in the first place. Recognize that what felt real was built in a fantasy bubble. No relationship exists without challenges, and an emotional affair thrives on the illusion of perfection. Understanding the difference between emotional and physical affairs is crucial. While society often downplays emotional cheating, it can leave just as many scars, if not more. And in many cases, it's even harder to forgive. 5. The aftermath. To stay or go. Once an affair, whether emotional or physical, has been exposed, both partners face a painful and life-altering question. Can the marriage be repaired, or is it too broken to fix? There is no universal answer. Some marriages emerge stronger after an affair, while others crumble under the weight of betrayal. What determines the outcome isn't just the affair itself, but how both partners choose to respond afterward. Option 1. Rebuilding the marriage. Not all affairs mean the end of a marriage. Some couples work through the betrayal and come out on the other side with a deeper understanding of each other. But rebuilding trust is a long and difficult road. Steps to rebuild: complete honesty. The unfaithful spouse must be transparent. No more secrets, no more excuses. Understanding the why. Affairs don't happen in a vacuum. All partners must examine what led to the disconnection in the marriage. Therapy and counseling, a professional can help both partners navigate the pain, resentment, and healing process. Rebuilding intimacy. Emotional and physical reconnection is key. This takes time, patience, and effort. The betrayed partner's choice to forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward without resentment. Couples who successfully rebuild after an affair often say that the marriage they have now is stronger than the one they had before. The affair forces them to confront long-ignored issues and create a more intentional, fulfilling relationship. However, not all marriages survive. Option 2. Walking away. For some, the affair is too painful to overcome. The trust is too shattered, the wounds too deep, or sometimes, the affair reveals a truth that was long buried. The marriage was already over. Signs that walking away may be the best choice. The unfaithful partner refuses to take responsibility or continues lying. The betrayed spouse cannot move past the pain, despite efforts to heal. The marriage was already broken beyond repair before the affair. The affair partner remains a lingering presence. The relationship lacks love, respect, or any desire to reconnect. Leaving a marriage is never an easy choice, but sometimes it's the right one. If staying means living in a cycle of mistrust, pain, and resentment, walking away may be the healthier option. The hard truth. Affairs rarely solve the real problem. Many women who leave their marriages for an affair partner later regret it. The excitement fades, reality sets in, and they realize that the deep issues they carried never disappeared. Lucy Beresford in her TEDx talk emphasizes that self-reflection is key. If the underlying emotional wounds aren't addressed, even leaving won't solve the problem. It will likely repeat itself in the next relationship. The path forward, whether a woman chooses to stay or leave, the most important step is self-awareness. Affairs don't just happen because of attraction. They happen because of emotional disconnection, unfulfilled needs, and unresolved issues. The key to preventing affairs isn't just about faithfulness. It's about intention. Being intentional in marriage. Making time for deep connection, fun, and passion. Being intentional in communication. Speaking honestly about needs and feelings before resentment builds. Being intentional with personal growth. A fulfilled person is less likely to seek validation outside their marriage. The final truth: women who cross the line aren't necessarily looking to cheat. They're looking to feel something they lost. And once they find it, walking away feels impossible, not because they don't love their husbands, but because they've convinced themselves that what they've found elsewhere is something they'll never get back at home. But the truth is, it is possible to rekindle that spark, if both partners are willing to fight for it.